TVC Breakfast. Now a whole lot is happening on social media, and the only lady that will give us all the accurate information, most recent information, she'll be bringing to us. She's standing by. Olamide Odekale, very good morning to you. I know that there's a lot happening.
Team. How are we doing?
Perfect.
I watched you all through the newspaper review, and my mouth was just moving behind the scenes. I had so much to say. Shall we see what everyone's talking about this morning?
Take it away.
Let's see what's trending. Good morning, Nigeria. Like I always say, TVC has a finger on the pulse and her eyes on the streets. And here on the Trending Now segment, my team and I do our best on a daily basis to bring you some of the trending stories that are shaping the world that you and I live in. We begin today outside the National Assembly, where yesterday protesters gathered outside Nigeria's National Assembly over the recent amendments to the Electoral Act and demanding the return of mandatory electronic transmission of election results. Now, the demonstrators, as you can see there, are holding placards reading, "Don't destroy our democracy, stop the betrayal of the ballot, and say no to electoral fraud," amongst many others. These protests follow days of national debate over the removal of clauses that would have required electronic transmission of results to INEC's result viewing portal. Now, civil society groups and activists, as you can see in there, Peter Obi is also there, have also been mobilizing support online, including under the hashtag Occupy NASS. The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, says lawmakers deliberately removed the real-time transmission requirement, warning that it could lead to legal disputes if network failures continue to occur during elections. Well, this debate now does reflect a wider national conversation that we're all having around transparency, technology, and what trust we have in Nigeria's electoral process. As you can see there, they're all wearing matching t-shirts and they came out to have their vote protected. But let's have a look at what you have to say on the streets of social media. We're seeing Aisha Yasufu there as well. Now, Stephen Gerrard says, threatening to storm the National Assembly and calling people criminals or terrorists is not the way to strengthen democracy. Protest is a constitutional right for everyone, but it must remain peaceful, lawful, and respectful. Real change comes through dialogue, and that's what Peter Obi should do. Civic engagement and proper democratic processes, not intimidation or inciting chaos. Nigeria needs responsible voices. Chris Aspire Wealth says, power belongs to the people, not the person counting the votes in a dark room. If there's nothing to hide, why is real-time e-transmission a problem? The resistance is the confession. Hashtag Occupy NASS now. Hashtag Electoral Reform. I'll take one more tweet. And finally, Sandra Ifi6 says, the demand is simple. We want credible elections without technical failures or manipulation. Democracy only works when the process is transparent and trustworthy. As usual, team, some very, very interesting discourse and a dialogue to get into. Now, Mr. Shomi, you and I have often been proponents, and we understand why INEC is doing what they're doing. We're not saying we support it, but we understand they are trying to protect the rights of people living in rural areas, according to Senator Akpabio's submission. Do you think that these protesters understand or agree with Senator Akpabio's stance? Clearly not. If they understood the implications that, some rural areas will be disenfranchised through the e-transmission, do you think they will still be having the same reaction? And what do you make of the manner and way in which they went about protesting and Peter Obi's involvement?
I think the process is being politicized now. Politicians have taken over rather than doing the right thing, looking at the facts. And I'm glad, I know one thing for sure, Obi has not even mentioned one country where real-time election transmission of results is working, because I know he loves to Google a lot. We are yet to see that. The fact of the matter is even countries where this was adopted years ago, they had to abandon it. And I'm referring to Pakistan, Bangladesh. In El Salvador, it led to a dispute. Eventually, it was manual reconciliation, compilation that resolved the problem. So the United Kingdom, United States, Canada, they are not even doing what we are asking, or we are asking the Senate to approve. So we have an hybrid system, and I think we should stick with that hybrid system. Peter Obi is only playing politics with the clamor. He doesn't need to do what he's doing currently. What he needs to do is to tell Nigerians how many countries in the world are doing real lifetime, election transmission of results.
Of course, I wasn't surprised to see him there. He's opposition, so what do you expect, But for me, we saw what the Senate President has said, that, over 9 states do not have the right internet. They don't have technology to make sure that this happens, that we get to see real-time, election results. And we cannot disenfranchise these people. But the only thing I'll stand on is that at the end of the day, 2027, we want to see a fair and credible election. Whatever it will take us to make sure that, INEC gives us a credible election is exactly what we want. It's sad to see that people are now politicizing this. It's not about, playing politics with it. The most important thing is to make sure that, 2027 is a test for people to now regain that trust in INEC again. I know that the Senate are going to have a meeting. I'm just hoping that they will come up with a conclusion. They'll come up with something that works well, with the citizens and with them as well. Because at the end of the day, it's the citizens that are voting. Another thing I think is that they are brushing away a very important issue, which is the Electoral, Offense Commission. We need to look into that issue, because oftentimes we see when it comes to elections, the vote buy-in, the people snatching ballot boxes and all of that. Let us talk about security that will happen during the 2027 election, and just leave issues that we feel like, might not be put in place. But they have every right to protest, and I'm just hoping that, the Senate will come up with something good. We just want a free and we want a credible election.
Beyond the real-time electoral transmission, transmission of election results, they're also advocating notification to be given 360 days as against the 180 days recommended by the lawmakers. So seeing Peter Obi and all of his cohorts, marching down the National Assembly, I feel it's born out of politics. It's not born out of clear reason and logic, because if you are saying that you're fighting the cause of Nigerians, are you fighting the cause of the urban Nigerians, not the people, not the rural Nigerians, the people, the have-nots, those who will be disenfranchised if we allow? We are saying that we should do real-time transmission of election results, because they will definitely be disenfranchised. They do not have access to quality networks. Some people will climb trees, they will still climb rocks to make ordinary calls, let alone connecting to data service. So I think if you are fighting for something, we should make it holistic rather than just being central on our thoughts.
Absolutely. Now, Tim, if INEC holds the right or retains the right to transmit electronically where they deem fit, what does this protest tell us about our trust in INEC? Thank you so much for your input, Tim. Now, in the world of political fashion, if you will, it appears that a new political fashion trend is emerging in Nigeria's high society circles. Videos trending online are showing several prominent young businessmen wearing the widely recognized Jagaban cap, popularly associated with President Bola Tinubu. Now, these videos have sparked conversation, and many Nigerians are now asking whether this trend actually reflects political allegiance or it's simply just a fashion statement. Now, the cap gained prominence during President Tinubu's political rise, and it's linked to his traditional title, Jagaban, a chieftaincy title from the Borgu Emirates, which later became part of his political identity, and the insignia on the cap, a part of his branding. Well, its adoption amongst elite circles is now fueling a lot of debate about the intersection of politics, status signaling, and cultural fashion in Nigeria's power spaces. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind one of those hats. Let's have a look at social media. Wahab Olalekan says, businesses thrive based on government policies and laws of the land. If you were in their shoes, you'd probably have done the same. And Edie says, you're calling them businessmen. With what business and source of income? They're just doing this because they want to collect and also belong. They don't have voters card. No, don't be afraid. All this noise is to distract people. Focus on electoral reform, and let's see how the voting goes. And now, Tim, whether we like to admit it or not, fashion can tell us a lot about the political climate. And we're seeing several prominent young businessmen. We're seeing Cubana Chief Priest. We're seeing Sheyi Vodi. We are seeing several young businessmen now wearing the Jagaban insignia hat. People are sort of criticizing them. But I want to talk about, what does this tell us about political allegiance? And is there any data to be gotten from this, Mr. Shomi? Or is it just a hat?
Yeah, fashion can tell us, just like you said, a lot, about identity, about identification, and mean political and social identification. And therefore, people read a lot into fashion. If you go back into history, we used to have what they call Awo cap, normally worn by people who call themselves Awoists. Yeah, there are other people who are Awoists who, in any case, are not wearing that cap. Then you have the Shagari cap, when Shagari was the president between 1979 and 1983. Then later, you know, we had what they call the resource control cap when Jonathan was in power. And today we have a Jagaban cap, which is part of identity. You know, when people believe in a particular leadership, they tend to identify with it, you know, using fashion also.
You know, Mr. Shomi, I was just trying to check your hat to see what's at the back of it. Maybe probably it has the inscription, or it's just a normal hat. But anyway, I saw the video online. I also saw, you know, that it was given to a particular person that didn't want to wear it. I think these people are adults, you know. If you decide you want to wear a hat, you believe in this person's ministry, fair enough. You know, when I see people insulting people for things that they have done by themselves, like everybody has their own ideologies. You can support somebody, maybe somebody doesn't support the person. So people castigating them, I do not really understand it. Somebody like Cubana Chief Priest, he's an adult. Even if he wants to wear a Jagaban skirt, that is what he wants to do. So people need to understand that not everybody will support your person. And of course, this hat is not just a fashion statement, it's an identity. When you wear this hat, you can see that, oh, you know, I'm supporting President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which, you know, everybody has their own person that they support. And we should not try to insult somebody for supporting who they want to support. So I don't have a problem with it at all.
I began to, you know, rack my brain whether I'd seen Jagaban skirt somewhere. but the thing is, you know, it's actually, fashion actually, you know, takes its own precedence, you know, depending on who dictates the fashion. You know, at a point in time, they will say people do, it's wrong to wear trainers under agbada, and we see people, you know, start doing that now, wearing baseball cap, you know, on agbada. And during the Buhari regime, as you mentioned, you know, we saw the way they used to dress at the time. You have this white color peeping out of your collar, and now it's the Jagaban reign. So people want to identify with him by virtue of supporting his political ideals, supporting his his vision, ambition, and some just do it for fashion, just like, you know, what's it called? I've forgotten the name really, but I guess the president also described it as, you know, a shackle, breaking yourself from shackle, because if you see at the part of the, you know, design, it doesn't touch. The design doesn't, you know, connect, so it shows that, you know, breaking yourself from, you know, misfortune, you know, just mention it, but it's a good one. So people should not be criticized for doing what they feel is best for them.
Absolutely. I remember I had one uncle that year that Goodluck Jonathan was president. He sold so many natives, all in a bid to look exactly like Goodluck Jonathan. So fashion indeed does tell us a lot about political alliance. Thank you so much for your input, team. In this next story, we know that journalists are used to telling other people's stories, rarely their own. But in a rare role reversal, one Nigerian journalist is now at the center of a story of loss and recovery. TVC News' Akwa Ibom State correspondent, Miriam Daniels, is receiving widespread goodwill after the Akwa Ibom State government handed over a new home to her family following a fire that destroyed her widowed mother's house in Eket. Now, this fully furnished bungalow with attached shops was provided through the state's Arise Compassionate Home Social Intervention Program. And state officials say that the initiative is designed to support vulnerable families and victims of disasters across the state. And when life turns a spotlight onto those of us that are used to standing behind it, it reveals the quiet strength of those who spend their lives telling other people's stories. And our team now, Miriam Daniels is one of our very own. She works with TVC and she's dedicated her life to essentially telling the stories of other people. She reports on all sorts of stories. And so it's great to see that she has become the story today. And we just want to congratulate her on the new home for her mother. And we hope that this does signify new beginnings for her, Mr. Shomi.
Absolutely. Congratulations to her. She's one of the few lucky ones. And I must express my admiration for the Akwa Ibom's government, and I hope this largesse, you know, this kind of gesture will be the routine, the normal thing, not necessarily only for journalists, but for every unfortunate citizens in Akwa Ibom, and including Nigeria.
Of course, they say the cry of a widow. When you bless a widow, there's an amount of blessings that God will give you. You know, this is a very beautiful, very emotional story. You know, just she was telling a story, and now she's now the story we're talking about her today. You know, she's very hardworking, very diligent. So very big congratulations to her. I'm glad that, you know, her story was able to bring this out. You know, the mother will be so excited. It's such a beautiful house. And the Akwa Ibom State, you know, governor, he's been doing a good one. Actually, this is what we need to see, you know, from our people in high places. It's not just about sitting down, you know, making some difficult decisions. It's also about how do you reach out to the less privileged, you know, how do you touch the lives of people. So this is a very beautiful one. Big congratulations to her. I'm so happy for you.
You know, looking at the picture of the house, it's so beautiful. It reminds me of the Yoruba adage that says the palace that got burnt, you know, actually was rebuilt with more beauty, with more aesthetics, and that's exactly what we've just witnessed. You know, oftentimes journalists, we are sitting here everywhere. We find ourselves to tell stories, other people's stories, and people see us laugh and all of that. They do not know what, you know, actually happens, you know, underneath. We try to bury our own you know, woes, our own dissatisfactions, our own, you know, disappointments, and so on and so forth. And then we prioritize other people's stories. And this is good that we are also telling our own stories. And I think as we tell other people's stories, people should also, you know, see it as a point of duty, you know, to look at what is wrong with us and also solve our problems as well, because we all have problems as humans. So one thing is we say congratulations to Miriam Daniel. She's a professional reporter. She speaks very well, and I always find her as a delight, you know, person to interview each time I had her on TV.
Absolutely. Who tells the story of the storyteller? Thank you so much for your input, team.